Did you know you have the power to change your life? It all depends on your beliefs. If you have limiting beliefs, you limit yourself. I'm Becky Beach, and I'm here to help you overcome your limiting beliefs so you can design your dream life. This is the Becky Beach Show. I'm Becky Beach. I'm going to be showing you how I was able to get a business and a husband and a child and much more using the power of manifestation. So let me share a little bit about my backstory. I grew up very poor. My mother, she lost her job. She developed schizophrenia. Like she was like a fashion designer. So I probably played until when I was 5 years old, she developed schizophrenia. So then we ended up losing a lot, in our life. We ended up having no electricity and running water for many years until my dad was able to get custody of me when I was 12. So I just went without. And I wouldn't have any clean clothes, and I was known as a smelly kid in school, and I was very poor, and we only ate peanut butter sandwiches and ramen noodle soup because that's all we had to eat. And it was just horrible living with my mother. She was very abusive. Like she sexually abused me and physically abused me and also mentally abused me. I just grew up like just in a very horrible situation, and I had no friends at school, and I'm sorry, I'm just getting a little emotional. I just had no friends at school, and my life was just in the gutter, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't have anything. I couldn't do anything. I was a small child. I couldn't get a job on my own. I couldn't leave. Like I just didn't know what to do, and then after some more abuse, I decided to tell my counselor at school about what was going on at home, that we had no electricity and running water, and then we were having to wash our hair out in the pool in the backyard. It was just awful. We'd have to steal water from neighbors because we had no running water. So my mother would have us go and get water out of the neighbors' faucets because they had faucets outside their house. So we would have to get water from them. And this one guy was letting us get water for a while, but then he decided not to let us have any more. So then like a church started giving us water, and it was just a horrible situation. And I didn't know what to do and didn't know where to turn. So I finally talked to the counselor, and I told him about the sexual abuse my mother was doing to me and the physical abuse and what was going on at home. So then she had a social worker come to our house, and the social worker saw like the way we were living. Our house was just had no electricity and running water. It was completely filthy. There was dog droppings all over the house. The toilets, were stopped up because we couldn't flush them. It smelled so bad in that house. It just a horrible reeking smell. And I was unwashed. My hair was dirty. I was dirty. Like we were just living in squalor in this house. And it was in a nice neighborhood, and we were about to lose the house because my mother had paid it off, but she wasn't paying the taxes. So we ended up losing the house. It was going to be foreclosed on. So we wouldn't be able to any place to go. My mother actually became homeless, and my dad ended up getting custody of us. And we moved to a really small, tiny apartment. At least we had running water and electricity at this apartment. So like our lives really improved for the better. But still, I was taking this story with me, this story about money, that it was hard to come by, that money didn't grow on trees. And I just I wouldn't believe anything different. Like I just thought money was so hard to come by, and that it came from hard work, and it came from working hourly, because I ended up getting a job where I worked hourly. So I just thought the more hours I worked, the more money I would make. But the only thing is I didn't have much time because I also had to go to school as well. So I started failing some classes because I just spent so much time working to get money to buy groceries. My dad didn't make very much. He was a teacher, but he was really bad with money. He would spend his money on frivolous purchases. Like he would buy leather cowboy boots. Like he was really addicted to buying leather cowboy boots. And he was just terrible with money. So by the end of the month, we would have to pawn stuff. So I was in band. So we ended up having to pawn my flute. So we pawned it so much that the pawn shop just kept it. So I had to leave band, because they kept pawning my flute so much. And we also had like a gaming system, and they ended up pawning that so much we ended up losing that. So my dad was just terrible with money. So I grew up, having not knowing much about money and how it worked. And so then in my 20s, I ended up getting like a pretty good job. I was making like $50,000 a year. But I still was very bad with money myself. I would spend it on frivolous purchases too. Like I would go shopping a lot, and eat out a lot. I wasn't really saving any money. So I know I was not saving, and I was accumulating lots of credit card debt. And my credit was in the gutter because I had gotten this credit card when I was 18, and I didn't have a job at the time. And I was spending all kinds of money on this credit card, and I maxed it out. It was like $5,000 credit card, and I never paid it. So then my credit was really poor. So I couldn't even get a car with a good interest rate because like I had such bad credit. So this car dealership that was like kind of a ghetto one, they ended up giving me a car, but I had to pay like $700 a month for this car. So it was just terrible. And so all my money was going to this car every month because they just gave me a terrible rate. And finally we changed it to another like financer. So I had to pay much less, but like that's how people take advantage of those with low credit. Like they just make them pay higher prices. So it was just horrible. And then like I finally was able to move out because my dad married this awful lady, and she was just so abusive, and she would or she was like verbally abusive. She wasn't physically abusive or anything, but she was just very verbally abusive to me. And she told me I was too fat because by that time I had gained 400 pounds because I turned to food for emotional support and comfort. So I was eating a lot. I would spend my money on buffets and eat like 3 plates of food. And I just felt like I could never get enough food because I grew up not having much food at all. So when I got food, I would eat as much as I could. So it really made me accumulate lots of weight. So my stepmother would make fun of me for being fat all the time and leave articles by my door. And she didn't even give me a proper place to live. Like she gave me like half the room of her house and put a divider up, like one of those cubicle dividers. So I wasn't even given a proper room. I was just living in half the living room. So it was just a horrible situation. So anyway, I didn't mean to make this my mastermind be totally negative, but you see where I came from. Like I came from nothing, nothing, and I was abused, and I just lived in like a really bad situation, like a slum. Like that's where I lived basically, in squalor. The house was completely filthy that we were living in, and I lived there a long time. So anyway, my stepmom's house was a lot better, so I was living there for a while. And finally I was able to make enough money to be able to leave because I just had so much debt that I couldn't really afford a place to live of my own. But finally I ended up just getting a place to live because I just couldn't stand that stepmother any longer. So I decided to leave. So now I was living in an apartment of my own, and I try to keep it as clean as I could. Like I couldn't bear to have any trash or filth. Even to this day, if there's any trash around, I immediately get it cleaned up. I make my husband take the trash out all the time. I do not want any trash in the house because it really bothers me to live in a dirty house. Like I make sure everything's always clean. So now, like things are so much better. As you can see, I live in a really nice home, and I have a cute little kitty, and my life's a lot better, but it didn't get this way overnight. It took a while to manifest. Because like when I first figured out the power of manifestation, it was when I was living with my stepmother and my dad. Like I really wanted to leave, but I couldn't find a job. Like I was I studied graphic design in school, but I couldn't get a job after I graduated. Nobody would hire me. They said I had no experience. So so I decided to teach myself web design and web development. So I taught myself HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So I would spend all day learning those languages, and how to make websites. And I built up a portfolio because I followed these tutorials on lynda.com. That's lynda.com. And I followed these tutorials, and I was able to get out of there. And I decided to start thinking about what kind of job I wanted. I wanted to have a nice designer job where I would make websites. So I just kind of manifest that. I would meditate on it and just pray every single day, like about getting the job. And I send out all these applications. And finally, this place decided to give me an interview. So I went and I ended up getting the job. So I was able to leave my stepmother and father's house and get my own apartment. And it was just so much better. But the only thing is at that job, like I was kind of treated poorly by some of the coworkers because I was really overweight. So I got treated badly for being fat, I guess. I don't know why people treat you bad for being fat. I mean, a lot of times it's just an emotional problem or something wrong with your like mental problem or physical problem. You might be taking medication that makes you gain weight. So I don't know why people give those with weight problems such a hard time, because they just really you just never know what's really going on. I was also taking antidepressants because that really like Prozac will make you gain a lot of weight, and it's hard to lose weight. Even to this day, I still take medication, and it does make me gain a lot of weight, and I can't really do anything about it. Like I was on low carb for several months and I still didn't lose any weight because the medication just does something to your body to make you, keep this weight. So this is about the smallest I can get for a while. I've been trying to lose more weight, but this medication is preventing me from losing any more weight, even though I'm eating like hardly any carbs and I'm drinking these protein shakes, so anyway, I'm going to go into that, but let's track back, to when I was manifesting a job. So I manifested the job first, and I was able to leave my parents' home. Then, but things ended up getting bad at that job because my boss, she was murdered. Her daughter had this husband that was a big asshole, and he ended up killing her daughter, and himself. So she was ended up murdered, and her daughter was murdered too. So then after she left, it got even worse because one of the awful coworkers became the manager, and she would just work me really hard, and she would make me do stuff that I wasn't hired to do, like clean up, and do production work when I wasn't hired to do that. I was hired to make websites and applications for that company, not to do production work, so she would have me do things I wasn't hired to do. And it just kept getting worse. So I complained to the HR department about what was going on, and I ended up getting fired over it. So then I had no job again. So then I decided to manifest something better. I would just sit here and I would just think, I just want to get like a better job that pays more. So I ended up getting a job at a healthcare company. And this healthcare company was able to pay for my bariatric surgery. I had bariatric surgery done at one of their hospitals, and I ended up losing 300 pounds. So then I was, not 300, I was down, I lost 200 pounds. So now I got down to 200, and at 200 pounds, I was really, really skinny because I'm 6 feet tall and very big boned. So after manifesting that job, and then I was also able to get surgery done for free. Like I barely had to pay anything just for a few tests. I think the most expensive was the sleep test because they want to make sure you don't have sleep apnea. Because if you have sleep apnea, it might be more difficult for the surgery, to be under anesthesia. But I didn't have sleep apnea. So I ended up getting the surgery done for barely anything. And I had a gastric sleeve done. And it just completely changed my life. I got down to 200 and I was like really thin. And I just felt more confident. And then I decided to start dating because I had never dated before. This was when I was 30. Like all of my 20s, I had no date. I was 400 pounds. I felt awful. I had low self-esteem because remember, I was abused so much that my self-esteem was down. I would tell myself I was stupid, fat, and ugly. And I was shuffled like I had no friends at all. So I was very alone. So I decided to go on these dating sites, but these men I'll meet on the dating sites were complete jerks. So I decided to manifest somebody that I really wanted. Like I wrote down a list of everything I wanted, and also did a vision board of all the traits I wanted in a man. Like I wanted him to be Christ-centric, to fear God. And I wanted him to be tall because I'm 6 feet tall. I don't want a short guy, I'm sorry, but I don't want to date someone that's really short. So I envisioned somebody that was tall and had a successful career because I don't want I don't want somebody that I got to support, I don't want no scrub, So I made sure I also manifested somebody that had a good job and was tall, and I don't really care if they were handsome or not. Like I don't really mind that, just looking for someone that was just like kind to animals because I'm a big animal person. I love having little pets around the house. I don't want someone that would abuse the animals or treat them badly. So I wanted, someone that loved animals and also that had a good family. I didn't want somebody that had a family that was really nasty and abusive, like my own mother and my own family. Like even my sister was abusive to me. Like I don't want that. Like nowadays, my sister won't even talk to me because she drove drunk with my son and I in the car, and I didn't like that. Like I screamed about her and I tried to get out of the car, and finally she let me out of the car, and I called the police on her because she was going to leave with my son. So now my sister and I don't talk anymore. But I don't really care because my sister was just always really abusive to me. Like she was physically abusive and mentally abusive to me growing up, so I'm kind of glad that she's out of my life. I didn't really need her abuse anymore. Yeah, so my life was just starting to improve. I was looking for a nice man. So I wrote down a list. I picked out pictures of magazines of kind of the guy I was looking for. And I was really attracted to red hair. I really wanted red hair because I just always loved red hair. I grew up reading the Archie comics, and Archie was a redhead that all these girls were after. And he was a really sweet guy. And you could see why these girls wanted him because he was the nicest guy in Riverdale. And he was just always helping his friends, and he was just a really stand-up guy that any girl would want. So he had all these girls after him. Like, I think 3 girls were after him. Like, there was one, Cheryl, the redhead, and then Betty, the blonde, and then Veronica, the brunette. They're all after him. And plus I really wanted blue eyes too, because I have blue eyes, and I just always been attracted to men with blue eyes. And my whole family basically has blue eyes, like my mother did. My dad had blue eyes and black hair, so I just always wanted someone with blue eyes. I don't know. So anyway, I manifest that. So I was just going on these dating sites. I never saw the man I was looking for in my manifestation on the dating sites. It was always like a different guy. And sometimes these guys would give me pictures of themselves, and they weren't the same guy. They were, or maybe they gave me a picture of themselves when they were younger. Like, this one guy had a picture of himself as a young guy. So I went out with him. He was an old guy. He was like 60 years old, but I still went on the date with him. He was really nice. And so I still stayed on the date. He was a really nice guy anyway, but I just felt bad that he had to give a picture of himself so young. So there's all these switcheroos going on, and I didn't really know what to do. So finally, like, I was going to this board gaming group, and I met this guy that was at the board gaming group, and I really liked him. He was like kind of what I was looking for. He was tall, he had blue eyes, but he had brown hair. And he was kind of ugly. He wasn't like a really handsome guy. He was kind of nerdy looking. Like, he wasn't good looking at all. He had really crooked teeth. He just wasn't very handsome. And he believed in God and was Christ-centric. So I started trying to get his attention. He didn't really seem interested in me. Like, I don't know. I think he wanted someone that was really short, because he like, some men only want short women that are petite. They don't want like a big, tall woman like me. So anyway, I think he was just looking for like a shorter woman, but he just wasn't interested in me at all. And I was trying all I could to get his attention. Like, I sent cookies to his office, like I paid $50 for these designer cookies and sent them to his office. And he's called me up and yelled at me on the phone, saying I embarrassed him. And he said to never contact him again. So I just felt really bad that I was out $50. And plus, like, he yelled at me. I didn't need that abuse. Yeah, so I just didn't really find anybody. So I decided to go to church, because I really wasn't going to church at the time. I kind of turned my back away from God, because my dad had passed away by then. And he was like the last person that I really, the last man I really cared about, and he was really into me going to church. But when he died, I decided to stop going to church. But then I decided to go to church again. And I was just going to different churches. This one church I went to was only families. And this lady told me that there was no single people at the church. And she told me to go to this one church that had a lot of single people. It was in Dallas. So I decided to go to that church. And I was just they had a big giant singles group. So I decided to start going to that church, and I would go to every single Bible group they had. And one Bible group, I met this lady there. And I've always been kind of an empath. Like, I can see light around people that are really good. And then I can also see negative light around people that are really bad. Like, my stepmother had a really negative light, around her. And I remember seeing that. I remember seeing that her true form, which was a snake lady, because she was a complete evil woman. And one time I saw her, I could have sworn I saw her head slither outside of a door and look at me, and then slither back in the door. I don't know how to explain it, but I just saw her for what she truly was one day. Because I've always been an empath. Like, I could see how people really are, and I could see light coming from them, or darkness coming from them. So anyway, this light was just blinding, and I just caught my eye, and I looked, and this corner was this girl, and I saw this light emitting from her. And I was really attracted to the light. It's like a moth to a flame. So I went over there, and I was very shy, but I decided to talk to her, because, I was a real shy person. Like, I had low self-esteem. I thought even though I had lost my weight, and I was really, really cute. I don't know why I've always thought I was ugly, because like, I was a pretty cute looking girl. I have also dyed my hair blonde, and I had a haircut like Taylor Swift, because Taylor Swift is very tall. So I was trying to, look like Taylor Swift. So I went over to her, and I introduced myself, and she said her name was Liz Beach. And I said, "Oh, I really like your name. The beach is my favorite place," because like in my apartment, I had decorated my house like the beach. And I told her about it, that I always loved the beach, and I liked her last name. And she says, "Oh, that's great." So then we started talking, and then she invited me to her house. So then, like, I was going to go to her house, later in the weekend. But then on Sunday, like, I decided to go to the 6:00 service, because at this church, they had a 6:00 service. So I went to the 6:00 service, And there I saw this super hot redhead guy. He was very tall, and his smile was so bright, and he had completely straight teeth, and he had this most handsome face, and he had blue eyes, and he was wearing glasses. He was wearing all black, and he had like bright red hair, and he had a red goatee, and he was so attractive, and I just couldn't stop looking at him. And he was sitting next to this girl, so I assumed that might have been his girlfriend. So I was just like, oh gosh, that guy is so attractive, and I just couldn't stop staring. And then after the service was over, like Liz was there, and she said, "Oh, how I'd like to introduce you to my brother." And I go, "Your brother?" She goes, "Yes, his name's Marcus Beach." And I go, "What?" And then I looked, and he was there, but I thought the girl next to him was his girlfriend, but I didn't say anything. And I go, "Wow, he's really handsome." So I shook his hand, and he looked at me and smiled, and he had the most beautiful smile. He looked at me unlike no other man looked at me before. And I was just kind of taken aback, and I got goosebumps. And then later, when I went to Liz's house, asked her about her brother and said, "Oh, is he? I saw he had his girlfriend with him." And she goes, "No, that's not his girlfriend. That's his friend. He's single. He's never had a girlfriend." And I was like, "What? How could he?" But I didn't say that. But I was like, "How could he never have a girlfriend before?" Because this man was exactly what I had manifested. He was like everything I was looking for. And he was also kind of pets. They had pets, and I went to their house and like hung out with her and her brother, and they had all these pets, and he was so kind to the pets. The pets just loved him, like the cats curled in his lap, and he was so gentle. And then I just got to know him some more, and then I met his family because his sister gave birth to a baby. Like his other sister, he has like two sisters, like Liz, and then this other sister named Erin. So Erin gave birth to a baby, so I went to the baby shower, and that's where I met his mother. And his mother was the kindest lady I'd ever met. Like she was so nice, so unlike my own mother, who was very critical and told me I wasn't good enough all the time. But this woman was just so kind and just the nicest lady. And she asked me when I was getting married to her son, and I'd only met him like maybe a month ago or so. And I said, "Oh, I'm just dating him." And she goes, "Oh, okay." So she thought I was already planning to get married to him. So then anyway, with Marcus and I just continued to date. We really liked each other, and he was like everything I was looking for. He was nerdy, into computers like me, because I had also had a computer career, and we just really got along well. We had good chemistry. So then after a few months of dating, like we decided to go ring shopping, because the mother kept asking me when the wedding was going to be, because she had to make plans in the summer. So she was asking us when our wedding was going to be. So she kind of pushed us along. Like I wish she didn't do that, but she kind of pushed us along. But then we went ring shopping, and I picked out this ring here. It has like diamonds around it, and it has like chevrons like on the side, because I always like chevrons, and there's little diamonds, and then it's like such a nice ring. And so I picked that out, and I think it was like $1,500, so it wasn't too expensive. So Marcus ended up paying for it. And then on Valentine's Day, like that's when he proposed. We were playing games together because we were both video gamers, and we were playing games together, and he proposed over the video game. So then that summer we got married, and Liz did our wedding. It was a do-it-yourself wedding, and she made a cheesecake, a 5-layer cheesecake. There was cinnamon, chocolate, vanilla, like it was delicious. And she made a 5-layer cheesecake, and it was the nicest wedding I'd ever been to. It was my own wedding. It was such a nice wedding, and it was all decorated with sunflowers. Sunflower is my favorite flower, so it was all decorated with sunflowers, and it was just the nicest wedding. I just completely loved it. Like it was just such an enjoyable place, and it was at the church where we met. We got married in the place we first met too, in that chapel, and it was a really nice wedding. So I was so glad I had manifested the right person, because you may be feeling alone right now with nobody, but God will bring you the right person when you're ready, because God brought me the right person. It just took a long time. I met lots of toads along the way, and I kissed a lot of frogs. But then I ended up getting the right person. And to this day, we've been married almost 10 years, and we're still really happy with each other. We hardly ever argue. The only thing we argue is about how to raise Brian, our son, because I don't like spanking my child, and Marcus is okay with spanking, but that's about what we argue about sometimes. But other than that, things are pretty good. Like we ended up moving in together after we got married, and he was my first sexual relationship. I'd never had sex before. So we ended up having sex, on our honeymoon, and for the first time, it was very awkward. It's nothing like the movies. nothing. And as I never experienced that before. So then, I decided I really want to have a child, so after a few months of marriage, like I really wanted a kid, but I was told by the doctor that I couldn't have any kids. They told me because I was bipolar, that was what I had developed due to the abuse. And also it's hereditary. My mother has schizophrenia. So mental illness runs in my family. And I ended up getting bipolar disorder when I was 18. And the doctor said I couldn't get pregnant because the medication I was on, it would damage the fetus. And so they didn't advise I get pregnant. So I just said, oh, I guess I can't have kids. And I was really upset. So I prayed about it and manifested it. So what I manifested in my mind was a baby boy. Like I wanted a baby boy with blue eyes, and I wanted to name him after my dad. And I was just thinking about him because I wanted to name him after my dad really bad. And I just wanted a baby boy like so bad. And that's all I could think about was having a baby boy. So then I went to another doctor, and they said, yes, we could change your medicine. You could be on this other medicine and then that wouldn't hurt your fetus. So I said, let's do it. So I got on the new medicine, and then I was able to get pregnant quickly after that. And then like I knew I was pregnant because I started having morning sickness. Like I felt really sick. So I went to get a pregnancy test, and I was pregnant. Then after a while, we went to find out the gender, and it was a baby boy growing inside me. And I was so excited. So I went on Facebook and I posted about my baby boy, and how I was going to get pregnant and everything. And I got lots of support, and so then I ended up having the baby, but there was something wrong with him. Like when he came out, he swallowed birthing fluid because I had to have a C-section. So he swallowed birthing fluid, and he was in the neonatal, the NICU. So he was in their intensive care, neonatal intensive care unit. So he was in there, and I was so worried, like they wouldn't let me hold him. I didn't know what was going on with him. And I asked about him, but the nurses didn't know anything. So I was just so scared. So my husband wheeled me down to the NICU because I just had to know what was happening to my child. And we went there, and he was all in tubes, and they were getting fluid out of his lungs. He could have died because he swallowed so much birthing fluid. So I almost lost my child. And then we ended up getting lots of bills from what happened, lots of medical bills. So then, like when we got married, we were probably in 150,000 in debt. Like we were just like, because I was just so bad with money then. Like I thought money was hard to come by, that it was only from credit cards, I guess, So I just tell myself all these stories about money. Yeah, so finally Brian got better, and we named him Brian Gregory because my dad's name was Gregory, and then Marcus' middle name is Brian, and his dad's middle name is also Brian, so we wanted to name him Brian Gregory. So then we brought Brian Gregory home, and I cared for him, and then we were living in this little apartment, and I said, there's no way we could give Brian his own room because we're just living in this tiny apartment. So then I started manifesting a house. Like I really wanted a nice house. And I remember growing up, I would draw houses, and I always drew houses with round rooms. You see this room I'm in is round. It's kind of like a rounded, like hexagon shape. So they're kind of Victorian style. So I was always drawing kind of Victorian looking homes with rounded rooms. And I was just always manifesting that kind of house. And so then we were looking at houses, and we just couldn't get any houses because as soon as we tried to get a house, it would get snatched up because there was lots of developers at the time, and they were just looking to buy up houses, and they would resell them as Airbnbs or like rent them out. There's all these developers in the area buying up all the houses, and I didn't know what to do, So finally I saw this one house online. It was beautiful. It was like kind of yellowish, like a sunflower, and it had 2 rounded rooms. It looks kind of like a butterfly. If you really look at it, like the top and bottom looks like wings. In the middle, there's like the door. So it's very symmetrical house, like a butterfly. And I thought, wow, that's a gorgeous house. And so then like it was a little bit above our price range because at the time we were both working dead-end jobs and not making much. So it's kind of out of our price range. But I had money from my dad dying because he left my sister and I, like $300,000 to split. So we each got $150,000. So I was just really being conservative with this money. I wasn't blowing it like I normally would have. So I was like saving it. So I decided to, just really thought about manifesting this house. I was just praying about it and dwelling on it. I would look at the picture of it and just really thought about it in my head that I had to have it. So I put in an offer, and the guy ended up not accepting it because he was going to go with somebody else. So I wrote this letter to him that I was pregnant and I really wanted a place for my son to grow up in. And I wrote this really nice letter. And it turned out the people that were going to get the house decided not to get it because they found out about foundation problems. You see in the back, there's like some cracks in my walls. It's from the foundation issues we had, but it was under warranty. So we were able to get it fixed. Just we got to repair the cracks still. If there was like cracks in the walls because of the foundation problems, so this other people ended up not wanting the house. So the homeowner decided to give it to us for like a low price of what we offered. So we ended up getting this house, and I was just out it was just out amazing because I really wanted this house like so bad. So we were able to get it, and I was just so grateful. And then we moved in, and it was kind of a rough moving because we got these movers that were assholes, that and some of our stuff got broken because they just weren't very careful with their stuff. They're kind of careless, and they weren't really good movers. I don't recommend them. So anyway, we got everything moved in, and then we started living here, and we've been living here like about almost 10 years now. And Brian, grew up, really healthy. Like he never had any more health problems. Like he gets sick, of course, like all kids, but he's never had any more health problems. And then, so I was just working this dead end 60-hour week job. I was a contractor, I was trying to afford this house, because we really couldn't afford this house, with what we were making. And I was working extra hours to be able to afford the mortgage. And we did put a down payment, like 75,000 down on this house, because I had that left over from my dad dying. So we did have some equity already built in the house, but like I was working these dead end jobs, and I thought there's just no way to live. So I decided to start a blog, and I started the blog mombeach.com, when I was had my son, but I wasn't really serious about it. Like I didn't really think I could make a business out of it. It was kind of a hobby. So I would just post about my life as a mom and about the dinners I would make. So a bunch of goofy stuff, like like journal entries. Like I wasn't really serious about my business at all, and I was just thinking it was more of a hobby. But then, like maybe a few years later, like I had this boss, and he treated me like trash. Like he would tell me I wasn't good enough and I didn't deserve my title. Like he was really verbally abusive. And he would have one-on-ones with me, and he would just make me feel like 3 inches tall. And I'm 6 feet tall, and he would make me feel like 3 inches. Like the way he would talk to me, he would talk down to me. And he was small himself. He was a shrimp. Like, I don't know why he was being so nasty to me. It makes no sense. But anyway, he was just had a big power trip, and he thought he was all that in a bag of chips. And he was just treating me really bad. And I would just leave, going into my car and cry, or go into the bathroom stall and cry, because I was just so miserable at this job. Like I was being treated so horribly. And he told me I wasn't even worthy of my title. I was a 3, not the senior level, because I've been doing this kind of work for like 20 years by then. Like I've been doing it since I was a teenager, like making websites and stuff. So he was just treating me so bad, and I just felt so awful. And I decided I gotta do something. I can't live like this anymore. So like I had the blog, and I said, maybe I can make this work. So then I started, taking courses about blogging, and because I never bought any course before, so I ended up spending money on courses. And I would take courses at night to learn about how to do the blog, and I would write blog articles at lunchtime. And he didn't like it that I was working on my blog during lunch. Like he got really upset with me. And then one day I decided to really let him have it. Like I started, just telling him like he shouldn't be talking to me like that, and I was just really putting him in his place. Then the next week I was fired from the job, because I came in there and they gave me a pink slip and told me I was fired, so I just left. Now I didn't know what to do. I was kind of at a loss because that was my income, and I needed to support my family, so I decided to just work on my blog, and I worked on my blog for like 6 weeks. And then I found another job that was much better. But then I was able to work on my blog and really get a head start on the content. And I wrote like one article a day. And I was really working hard on the courses that I bought. And then eventually I started to make money from the blog. I made $1 my first month. And I told my brother-in-law that I made $1, and he said, "Oh, don't quit your day job." And he kind of laughed. So then I kind of felt discouraged. My sister told me I was wasting my time, that I should focus on my 9-to-5 job instead of a focus on my blog. She said the blog was a waste of time, and I needed to support my family, and I couldn't work on that blog. She just told me it's a big waste. So I kind of felt bad about it. Like I had no support. Like everybody in my family were all 9-to-5ers. Nobody was an entrepreneur. And even my whole family growing up, everybody was always a 9-to-5er. Like nobody ever had their own business. So I didn't really know where I was going, but I just knew I had to make this work. I was just manifesting a better life. Like I wanted to be able to work at home, to be with my child at all times. I just want to be there for him. I didn't want to have to stick him in daycare because he was in daycare at the time. And I spent more time with his picture than him because like I was working so much. And then when I get home, I only got to be with him for an hour, but he was asleep because he had already gone to sleep, because it was late when I got home. So I got no time with my son. I just lost out. I mean, missed out on his first word, his first steps. And I was just so upset that I had missed out on so much. So I decided to start manifesting a business, an online business, the blogging business. And I just kept thinking and thinking and I would spend time in the morning, just meditating on it. And I started, I started doing subconscious reprogramming, and I downloaded this app called Hypnosis Downloads. And I downloaded there's like one that's it's really low price. They're like all $10 for this subconscious reprogramming apps. And I got all these subconscious reprogramming. They're like messages. You would just sit down and meditate or lay down, and you just listen to it, and it kind of reprograms your brain and your subconscious. So you ended up thinking different thoughts, just automatically instead of negative thoughts, because you are who you think about, that. And if you think about positive stuff, then you're going to get positive outcomes. But if you think negative thoughts, like if you tell yourself how stupid, fat, and ugly you are, then you're just going to be stupid, fat, and ugly, in your mind, and you always think that about yourself. But if you telling yourself different, then you're going to think different thoughts, and that's just how it is. You can, if you can think it, you can achieve it. And I know that sounds corny, but it's true. Like I'm a testament to that because I just have so much now, and it's all because of how I manifested it, and the law of attraction played a big part. So then I just kept meditating about. I said Mom Beach is going to be a success. So then when I was just at the job, I would just get these thoughts popping into my head about how successful Mom Beach was going to be, and then eventually I started making $1,000 a month, and I was able to get lots of traffic to get into an ad network called Mediavine, and then Mediavine was paying me like $2,000 a month. And then I was getting plus another 1,000 from affiliate marketing, because I had all these affiliate marketing programs on my blog. And when people went to my blog, they signed up to the affiliate program. I mean they signed up with my link. So then I got money from them signing up. So that's affiliate marketing. So I was able to get money from that, and then plus the ads. And soon I was making like $3,000 a month from all that. And then I said maybe I should make products. So I started making printables. Like I made printable planners and spreadsheets. And I made a Shopify store. And so I put stuff up for sale, and I started getting just random sales, like people coming to my blog would purchase, because when someone comes to your blog and they get all this free content, they feel like giving back. So a lot of them will go to your store and see if they can buy something from you as a thank you. So that's why all bloggers need to have their own store on their blog, because they're just wasting money. They're just leaving money on the table if they don't have a store, because these people go into your blog, they're getting all this free help. So, people want to give back when they get something for free all the time. That's just how humans work, or most people anyway. I know there's some people that are just out there for freebies, but like for like a nice person usually wants to give back to somebody after they get so much in return. So they'll go to your store and buy things from you. So I started getting all these random sales, and so I started making a couple more $1,000 a month. And by that, then I was making like $5,000 a month. But I was still working a job. I ended up getting hired at this really good company called American Airlines. And I was working there, and I got an executive position. So I was making really good money, and I was getting all these benefits like flight benefits and like healthcare and dental and like just really good benefits there. And I didn't really want to leave, even though I could afford to leave. But I was living in fear. I thought that if I left, something bad would happen and I would lose my business. And sure enough, like a couple of years ago, I lost my PayPal because PayPal told me I was a pyramid schemer, so they closed down my account. So I couldn't use PayPal anymore. So I thought, I probably should stick with my job, because now I lost PayPal, and that was a big way I was able to get money from my business. But then I decided to fight it. So I manifested a way to get out of it. I just really dwelt on it and prayed and meditated about getting my PayPal back. So finally, I was able to find this email address called executiveoffice@paypal.com. And I emailed that email, and I also tweeted on Twitter, "Ask PayPal." about my situation. And then like a day later, my PayPal was back. So my PayPal was freed just from me not giving up and manifesting, getting it back, because what's different about me than other people might be is that I don't give up. If I really want something, I manifest it and I just keep at it and I find how to get it. Like this house, I wasn't going to get this house and I wasn't going to be able to have a baby because if I would have took the word of that doctor, but I decided to get a second opinion and I kept fighting because I really wanted a baby and I really wanted a house and I really wanted a husband, even though I kept meeting creeps. Like I just didn't give up. So I could have just said, oh, I guess all men are creeps. I'm not going to bother. But I didn't give up. I kept trying and to find the right husband that I really deserved. Because you should do that too. If you really want something in life, then don't give up. Just keep on keeping on. And then now, like my store is making, like over $10,000 a month, my printable store. And plus I have another printable store for commercial use printables called PLR Beach. That sells printables already done that people can resell. So that store also makes good money. And then I also have a coaching business called CoachBeckyBeach.com where I help other people start their own businesses. I have a membership called Business Beach Club. So all these different business ventures are bringing in $30,000 a month. And I've quit my job for a year now. I've been doing this full time for a year after manifesting this business. And now I can stay home and I'm a room mother at my son's school. So like every time the teacher needs help, I can go to his school and help out with parties and, and different things. And it's all because I have my own online business. And now I want to manifest earning $50,000 a month. So I joined this mastermind group, to help me get there. And I'm just going to keep on manifesting and just improving my life. I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm going to keep on keeping on. I recommend the same for you. If you're in a rut, if you think there's no way out, if you think you can't do something, then you're not going to be able to do it. So you got to believe in yourself and just really think that you can do anything and you'll get there. Believe me, you will. And if I can do it, anyone can. Because again, I have bipolar disorder. I've come from squalor, like a bad place in life, poverty. I've come from abuse. And if I can get myself up by my bootstraps, then anybody can, and you can too. I just know it. I really believe that you can do anything you set your mind to because you got this. You can do it. And I believe in you. Well, have a great day. Goodbye. Make sure to visit mombeach.com/podcast to view the show notes and to learn more how to join my membership, Business Beach Club. Hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you so much for listening to the Becky Beach Show. Please go to mombeach.com/podcast to learn more about my podcast and for show notes. If you want a 2022 free printable goal planner, please go to mombeach.com/subscribe. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Have a great day. Goodbye.